6 furlongs, a minute 11 and 1/5 of a second. With a quarter to go at Pimlico, and the filly shows away. Swiss Skydiver, Authentic, the Derby winner, alongside. They're set for a battle in Baltimore. And on the inside, Swiss Skydiver. On the outside, Authentic. Johnny B going left-handed. Swiss Skydiver a furlong left to go. Swiss Skydiver looking to make Preakness history. Another filly bounding toward the 16th pole. And here's Authentic on the outside, answering the call head and nose and nose. Swiss Skydiver and Robbie Alvarado. They've done it from Authentic.
Well, that was one, as Dave Rodman, Ronnie noted, that was one for the history books. That was, for a myriad of reasons, one of the best Preakness races I've ever seen since becoming a fan back in 1993.
Probably one of the best races I've seen all year. It was just amazing how game the filly was. She just and just the fact that it was Authentic right behind, right next door, and Johnny B going for his first Preakness win, ding dong, right to the wire. What a performance!
And you've got a filly, obviously, in rarefied air, becoming just the 7th filly, in fact, female, to win the Preakness Stakes. And thinking back to Ken McPeak and wondering if he would just a few days ago run or opt to wait for maybe the Spinster later today at Keeneland, but he clearly chose right, and just an amazing training feat from a filly and a very jubilant Ken McPeak, picking up another Classic win. I think back to his first American Classic with Sarava almost 20 years ago in the O2 Belmont. But the fact that she's held together, and not only that, she has thrived with, and I tweeted after the race yesterday, I mean, she's been a throwback-type filly who, again, has crisscrossed the country, essentially began her 2020 campaign here at Gulfstream right around Florida Derby time, and she's just run every 3 to 4 weeks, it seems, and has kept just that elite, high-level, tremendous filly.
Yeah, and a great training job by the connections to actually go into this race. They were on the fence, and they decided to go. I guess they looked at the past performances and went to the lead with this horse, basically, and she was so game. So a great, it was a different time of year to watch the Preakness, but it turned out to be excellent day.
And she'll be 3-year-old filly champion, and well-deserved. And we'll see, ultimately, that was a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. We'll see, do they try the boys going 10 at Keeneland, or potentially drop back in with the fillies and mares, of course, in the Breeders' Cup this staff. But that was a Preakness for the ages, and glad it was just a really great race. And we move forward here. It's day number 2 of our autumn season at GPW. We'll take a look outside. The rain, thankfully, and that was an issue throughout yesterday's program, some heavy rain off and on. Happy things have subsided out there, but as a result, and as expected, we have no turf racing on the program, a fast main track, and about 50 minutes out from race number 1, which coincides naturally with our opening pick 5 on the afternoon. I view this first race as a 2-horse affair, and maybe saying that it's a little folly that I didn't include the horse on the outside as a slight favorite at this point in the 10 Camellia Gal, but I want the speed. I really want the speed here, and I think I have the speed, and maybe the best horse on the dirt in the 4 Effie Meister. So I clearly constructed this ticket around her. And just moving my way through the sequence quickly, the second race is more or less a battle between a number of key and well-connected second-time starters, and I've got a pair of second-out fillies, one for Mark Cassie, one for Safi. Third race is a little confusing, Ronnie. I went 5-7-9 there because the class of the field, unequivocally, happens to rest upon both Zodiac Princess and Passion Plus, yet I didn't use either horse, even though they're the most talented, because I don't trust either filly on the dirt. I'd rather go to the quote-unquote lower-level claiming-looking fillies, like a 2, in fact, trained by Sharon Boland, led off by the 9 Queen of Cause in that spot. And that's a race where I think we might be able to get some value, because I got to think they're going to bet Passion Plus and Zodiac Princess, who, for me, I just don't trust on the dirt.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. I went a little different. I went with Maria's Melody. Is going to try older horses for the first time, just like her ability on the main track. But that's a wide open fair. If you got a single like Jason, maybe you go a little deeper in that particular race. Looks pretty wide open. And you got the logical 2, I believe, in race 5.
Yeah, it looks like the bookending horses. One down inside for Safi, and there's an MTO on the outside, obviously an MTO being the number 16. An $18 early pick 5 play for me. And again, when it's all said and done, this does look like a rather nondescript type field on the dirt of filly and mare off the turf, $25,000 to $20,000 maiden claimers. And you like my horse in what, on paper anyway, kind of shapes up as a two-horse affair between the 10 Camellia gal. But I'll tell you, I think the 4 Effie Meister is faster than her early, and she's coming out of a pretty deep for the level. That maiden 40 field she's coming out of last month at Gulfstream for Dave Fox, that was a pretty deep field, and if we have a track similar to the one we had yesterday, Ronnie, you're going to want to be up close because closers really had a difficult time in all 10 races yesterday.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the track plays today because it was sealed sloppy throughout the afternoon. Today, listed as fast as we start the afternoon, and I did, too, go with Effie Meister, who drops that 6th place finish on the grass with that really good stalking week and forth against much better in 40 maidens going 6 in the slop. Camilla Gal is stepping up the competition, responded on the turf with that game 4 wide second, but this one has run okay on the dirt and wet tracks. Edgar Zayas, Juan Avila, the trainer, and his daughter Vision Mass. So I thought, but just off those performances, previous performances on the dirt, they run well. We got the same exact try with the 6 Seattle Bay in 3rd.
Who's going to step forward here in the second race? It is a field very much a 2-year-old filly cast, in fact, in a 25 to 20 maiden claimer, just dominated by more lightly raced horses. From the inside, number 1, Miss Italy, to the 4, Samurai Fighter, who I referenced her pedigree in my analysis on the website and in the program if you want to check it out. I normally wouldn't mention a pedigree with a horse that's raced already like Samurai Fighter, but it really is on the dam side. It is all dirt, and she is, I think, set to improve, making her second start and her debut on the main track. And then you get the Saffy's filly, who we both like in the 8, Pretty Rachel, who just ran well enough first out in a race I'm sure you noticed has been live. There's been a couple of fillies to come back since to break their maiden.
Absolutely. Pretty Rachel was given some time off after stalking the pace and finishing that second in the front of the pair of next out winners in that race. So Sappy Joseph Jr. going to jump in, grab apprentice Alberto Burgos. Thought it was the one to beat. I used Audrey, the horse you have in 3rd and 2nd, stepping up the competition. Responded last time to the addition of blinkers with a set the pace 2nd. Beating the neck as the odds-on choice against those 16 sprint contested at 6 on the slop, a race that's also produced a couple of next out winners. So I'm going with a couple of good races there. Miss Italy for me in 3rd.
Now the 3rd goes at a mile and a 16th. It's a nice group of horses, and little bummed. I mean, again, you can't force turf racing when we had as much rain that we endured here throughout basically a 36-hour span of time, and hopefully we can be back on the turf with some clear weather beginning this Wednesday as we start the first full week. So, that being stated, you're faced with the field where your horse Marie's Melody, the 6 Zodiac Princess, and the number 10 Passion Plus all come into this thing with very respectable form, yet it's turf form, and that worries me. I sound like a broken record in these off-the-turf races. I just don't want shorter-priced turf horses on the dirt. And that led me in the direction of the 2 Sharon Boland horses. Again, not normally a filly I might land on because she does have the look of more of a lower-level claimer coming in from Maryland. But the 9 Queen of Cause has got some speed, is in off a respectable dirt win last time out. And I think both her horses are going to run well, along with the number 7, Sassy Miss Margie. I just want, even if they look quote-unquote a little cheaper on paper, I want the dirt horses here. I really do.
Well, I went with Marie's Melody, who's facing older horses on the dirt after a solid campaign against those 3-year-olds on the turf, which includes that front-running score in the Miss Gracie. She has speed. She's run okay on the main track. It's basically a speed play for me, and I just like the fact that this horse, has got to prove that it can handle the turf. The main track this afternoon, but if it's fast, I think she has a big shot. Passion Plus, Zodiac Princess. We're going to see how those 2 run on the dirt, but I think Marie's Melody has a pretty good shot in here.
We'll see how she does. I mean, you've got the 3 unequivocally classiest fillies in the race that they tower over the other horses in the talent department. We'll see, though, how that works out this afternoon on the dirt. Now, the 4th race, we'll start the pick 6, which means we'll take a little breather here on this Sunday edition of GPW Today. Back chasing the rainbow after this.
in the two-path. Ground off first inside. Race. And a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
About 40 minutes out from the Sunday first on a main track Sunday here, second day of the autumn season at Gulfstream Park West. Jason and Ronnie, hope you're having a good weekend so far. Hope you enjoyed the Preakness yesterday with the Philly Swiss Skydiver getting the money there. And, of course, we move forward. We did have a single, Ronnie, in the opening day, Rainbow Six, and Tony Small, who just, with his off-the-pace style, didn't run poorly, but may have been a little bit tactically up against it. I'm curious to see moving forward on this second card of the meet what you got cooking in Sunday's Rainbow Six.
Well, no singles this afternoon, 43-20. I did use Apache, making legacy and extra dough in race number 4. In race number 5, I used Curtains Up and Captain Duke, as we mentioned with your early pick 5. I thought those were the logical 2 horses in there. In race number 6, Tiger, Awesome Jerry for Safi Joseph
That's a good
Jr.
race, by the way.
And Palladium. Yeah, I had to use all 3 in there because I just couldn't separate them. I think it's a good race. I like Tiger, but I think there's a couple of ways you can go. My best bet of the day is Don't Get Cozy in there, but I also used the 2 Tara in race number 7. Race number 8 with 2 horses in there. Corey Gale entered for the main track for Peter. Looks strong. But Fujiwara, I think, has got a shot in there. Yeah, and Marie's Melody, this horse was behind, so you watched that race earlier on. When you put your ticket together, we'll talk about that in a little while. And then Captain Fofo, Yes for Less, and Jack B. Winkle in the finale.
I got a price play in the last race that I'll talk about when we get up to the 9th this afternoon. That is a very, don't you think that's a difficult last race, Ronnie?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's if you can find a price play in there, you got to go with it because I was not sold on any one of those 3 horses I picked. I used all 3. I don't know about the outside post. Hard to tell yesterday what was going on with the sealed sloppy track as far as post positions went.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that aspect for sure. I'm assuming if you had an outside draw but you had early speed, you may have been okay, maybe not winning every race, but certainly in the fight and in the hunt and maybe cracking the trifecta. As we move on to the Rainbow Opener on the dirt, which is a 10K maiden claimer, and I think for me anyway, this race splits off into 2 camps. Clearly, the 4 Apaches in for the dime on the dirt and is the new face here for KO. This horse has never started this low before and has early speed and should run well, again, dipping in for 10K. The other camp, because that horse is kind of off by himself, you've got that 5-horse rematch from the 4th race at Gulfstream on September 13th, in which Making a Legacy and the stat you've got for Michael Yates with extra dough, those horses were 2nd and 3rd behind a speedy winner.
Yeah, Apache dropping to the 10 level on the main track, failed to find when trying the turf last time out. This horse, trained by Kathleen O'Connell, as you mentioned, has always faced better in his sprints on the dirt. I think it's a good spot, this $10,000 level. Making a Legacy certainly is finishing 2nd and 3rd into sort of an art form and tries to notch the elusive maiden victory. And extra dough, as you mentioned, a stat on Mike Yates. Horse's 3rd start off the layoff sprints on the dirt. He's 8 for 24. That is 33%. 54% in the money, and 357 is the return of investment. That's 3rd off the bench with extra dough, who was 3rd behind Making a Legacy last time out.
Yeah, so pull that stat apart a second. Do you expect that horse to just be better and maybe a little stronger than he was in the rematch against Making Legacy and the 4 other horses that he's got to face out of that race?
Just by the stats, I just was curious to see. I said, hey, look, he's making the 3rd start back from the layup, one of my angles. Let's see if he's good at it. So maybe that's all he needed. Get a course 1, 2, and then the 3rd start, he's ready to go.
All right, just 9 on this Sunday card here at GPW, meaning our late pick 5 begins at about 2:30 in the afternoon. We've got, again, the 2 major playing bookending horses from the rail post to number 1, Curtains Up, who's got the big speed and was game last time out, very game, in fact, and resolute against the main track only in the 6, Captain Duke, who's not slow in his own right, and might just be the most accomplished, sharpest, true dirt horse going into that off-the-turf 5th race opening leg. 6th is a good one. I'm in the camp of Tiger. I think Tiger's pretty good and may have made some noise had he been eligible to run in the Florida Sire Stakes, but he wasn't because he's dialed in, so about a 60-day layoff for him, coming back for Arundel and Juan Alvarado. And the 1 Awesome Jerry, although he graduated, and we'll talk more about that in a second, from Maiden 50, I thought he ran well, in fact, better than that running line might suggest, and more on him in a second as he looks to stay unbeaten. A good seventh race that was scheduled for the dirt. You've got quality and class to go around in a field, certainly headlined by Ronnie's Best Bet, my top pick, the 8 Don't Get Cozy. I built the play around Corey Gal, given the fact that she's just been so good in 2020 with that big early speed, and like her, just to continue her winning ways off the claim for Peter Walder. And my one weirdo price horse is in the last race in the 4 Deer Slayer. I really, again, the jury is still very much out with that colt regarding his I guess his overall ability, but certainly narrowing that down to what he can do on the dirt. I'm just going to chalk up a price play, considering he may have disliked the slop last time out and may have just simply found a mile in the slop a little too far for him. So he's my price play, turning back to 6 on fast footing. 2-4-6 for me, wrapping things up in that Sunday late pick 5. Again, though, not spending all that much time here on the 5th. You've got clearly the game last out effort of the 1 Curtains Up. For Safi down inside, knocking heads with the 16 horse and Captain Duke, who, when the race plays out, because the 7 Friendly Fella is talented, but he has not run in over 7 months, they look like the best 2 horses on paper to my eyes, and clearly you agree.
Yeah, because Curtains Up, son of big drama debuts. Loki responded with that victory for Safi last time out. Got a bullet work. It's actually on the turf, so they're getting this horse to run well on the turf, even though it was taken off. I still like it. Captain Duke entered for the main track, has finished turning back to 5, has always finished second at 5.5 or 6. And Friendly Fella, 4 for 5 in the money on the fast main track. So I think 116 are the ones to be in there, but I would give a look to the 7 when you're putting your try and super together.
If he's ready to go off that layoff,
Right.
and I've always looked at KO at maybe being 2nd and 3rd off the bench, but if he's firing a big one off that near 7-month layoff, I mean, he's got every right to be in the picture there, don't you think?
Absolutely. That's why I didn't use him on my ticket, but you just want to tell people, if you have a chance to maybe a single or 2 in the Rainbow Six, you had that horse.
Tiger's got a lot of speed, and I feel as though as we turn the page and move on to race 6, and for my money, races 6 and 7 are my personal highlights on the card today. I really like both these races, and I feel as though as we backtrack to Tiger's last out start, which was nearly 60 days ago, and again, just don't forget this horse despite being a Florida bred, he's dialed in, so he wasn't eligible to run in the Florida Sire Stakes, and I would have to think he would have been after this blowout win on August 9th. But I feel as though not only did he show he's got talent and the big speed and all that, I also think he showed his true colors, because I honestly believe from the bad start from the inside post in his career debut in late June to the sloppy track that, to my eyes, he did not appear to handle back in mid-July, that was the day he got conditions very comparable to what he's going to have this afternoon, and the result was a fast and very speedy maiden win. And I think he's got some talent, this horse. I like Tiger like you coming back.
Yeah, definitely. And the other horse that we both used on the ticket, the one horse from Jerry, stretching out to 6. Solid debut, as you mentioned, when he rallied to 4 wide. He defeated those next out winners called Top Boss and Screen Star in the 50 maiden sprint, contested at 5 furlongs. I want to show you a stat real quickly on Safi Joseph Jr. Just over the past couple of years with his 2-year-olds, maiden winner last out on the dirt. He's 5 for 11, 45%, 64% in the money. 2-2-3 is the return of investment. I'm expecting that horse to run exceptionally well today.
Well, I think he appreciates not only having that race under his belt to get him going. He is by Liam's map, so in my mind, stretching out the 6 will only help him and make him a bit more comfortable. And he was, to my eye anyway, he was quite green in that race from the quarter pole basically to deep stretch, and still got up and beat a couple of next out winners. Horses out of that race immediately have gone 2 for 7. Now, I think he's okay, and we'll obviously find out how good he is alongside the number 2 Tiger in that good-looking cast of 2-year-olds in the 6th race. 7th race, we don't miss a beat. Pretty nice Florida-bred allowance optional claimer for the fillies and mares, and I'm really happy in the camp of the 8 Don't Get Cozy that as of now, as for the time being, and I hope this continues, she's getting a dry track. I think she proved 3 and 4 back. She just doesn't want the slop, and she's held her form nicely. And not only that, Ronnie, I feel like as the season's gone on, she's gotten better at a pretty good level of competition, including the Asina Stakes that she's dropping out of.
Yeah, I like to turn back to one of her best distance. 5 starts, a couple of wins, a second, after tracking the pace and finishing 4th behind hard-knocking sophomores. As you mentioned, in the $60,000 Vallecina. Antonio Edgar to top the daughter of Kozan. Thought she was going to run well. We both have the number 2 Tara in second.
Absolutely. We'll roll her last out race. You and I, in fact, finished off we capped the exact and try. You would like Tara as your long shot here in the nightcap September the 6th. And I was a fan of Royal Megan, who came back yesterday and ran okay but didn't win. Thought Hector Berrios rode Tara really well. And I pulled this race not only because it was just a strong recent effort here about a month ago. I feel as though it's very much relevant because you look at her record at being 1 for a baker's dozen. But I do get the vibe that this Brethren filly has just really come to hand. She's always been consistent, and she's been a check getter and all that, but she does strike me as a horse who's just simply in the best form of her life currently.
Yeah, she ran exceptionally well in there, so I respect her a lot this afternoon for Juan Alvarado. Hector Berrios will be in the saddle, and then I used Tiz Enough, who's stepping up to face winners, Drew Clare to defeat a couple of next-out winners at this demanding 7 furlong distance, which I like.
She likes 7. No,
yeah.
She's been a horse that has just come to hand going 7. I hear you.
Yeah, so that's always a key. For anybody that can run well at 7, I like to go back and put those horses on the ticket because it's that in-between distance that some horses like, some don't.
I think it is the toughest distance to win at. I really think 7. And, again, she's had no issue with it at all. We'll find out again, much like an Awesome Jerry in the race prior. We'll find out where she sits and how she stands stepping up against unequivocally better in that 7th race. We're off the turf for the 8th. You've got quality here without a doubt. And although this was a scheduled turf race, a good chunk of the better-looking turf horses are staying in and trying their luck on the main track, and that obviously is led off by the 2 Fujara, who's been a decent enough switch hitter for Carlos David, and even the 6 Main Attraction, who's gotten pretty good for Tammy Levy. But the best dirt horse in the race, it doesn't necessarily equate to a victory. She's got to go out there and do it. But, I mean, the flagship horse here, Ronnie, clearly is the 5 Corey Gow.
Yeah, man, she, second consecutive victory last time out when she walloped those 25 optional claimers going 6.5 in the slop. It is Peter Walder first off the claim. Fujihara, as you mentioned, turned back to 5 in the dirt, surrendered that late lead. Here's where the homework comes in for you folks out there. Finished third behind Marie's Melody, who's going to run in race 3. That was in the Miss Gracie last time out. So maybe if that horse runs well on the dirt, you give Carlos David's horse another look here, Sammy Camacho. And don't forget, this horse finished second in the Blue Sparkler on the dirt up at Monmouth Park. So it certainly has a touch of class.
Yeah, if this race starts to burst apart at the seams, she's the best closer, obviously. And by this time, you'd like to think we'd have an inclination if the main track is not tilted towards speed like it was yesterday.
Yeah, you'll definitely know by then, but we'd like to know by race 4 when we put our tickets together.
You got that right. Hopefully earlier we'll see. And Effie Meister 7-5 with her speed against Camellia Gal in that first race. We'll wrap things up here in the 9th, and I think I noted or wrote along the lines in my analysis in the program and on the website, this seems to me like a 2 lifetime 6250 claimer that if you ran it 10 times, you might have 8 different winners. It's just that kind of grab bag race. And off that, I'm going to take the 4 Deer Slayer. I know this horse has major questions regarding his current form and overall his ability on the dirt. But he's second off the layoff. Maybe he just hated the slop last time out. I think this might turn out to be, if you can really get down in the PPs and maybe suss out an angle or 2 that you like. This could be a good race to try to get cute with somebody, and that's my idea with the 4 Deer Slayer on a dry track in a shorter race.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That's what we said, if you can find something. I did go with Captain Fofo, who's making his local return and hoping that change in scenery will help him notch his condition after back-to-back second-place finishes at this distance across down at Gulfstream Park.
About 30 minutes out from race number 1, you'll have Ronnie and myself with you throughout the afternoon here in Miami Gardens as we turn things over, as always, to the man upstairs, Pete Aiello, for those scratches and changes.